Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Japanese Shabaru podcast. We're gonna be starting off with Lord of Mysteries, episode 5. So, this episode starts off kind of like really nice. Like, you see this beautiful play starting to play, bodies getting dropped, so it's instantly making you think, okay, so this is being parallel to something else, which we don't find out later on that it isn't, but it's actually part of the play. But it's this is like all going on as Dune and Klein start to show up, and it's like they're really looking forward to kind of investigating this guy known as Triss, which he is kind of like a hero that people look up to, and he's very well known. They figured he had some there's something going on with them, especially after we find out what happened in the later on in the episode with somebody. But interesting enough, we do find out that Dune, after his encounter with the true creator, or with the creator, uh, we he is kind of weakened. Obviously, he's not like one of those people with the that strength that's weak, but like he really got hit with something severely damaging to him, which you can already tell like the creator's gonna be a big problem later on, or like it's hinting that the creator will, if we ever meet the creator, is gonna be a really big deal. And we do have other uh cults in here. Obviously, we have the what's it called, the demonist sector, which is like the main uh order or like secret society that this episode kind of focuses on introducing. And so I'll just go over like the what the demonist sect is. It's a demonist sect is like a group that worships the primordial demoness and believes concealed entity is the true successor to the creator. So like this primordial demoness is what this cult views as like the successor to the creator. So interesting stuff. And basically the the primordial demoness is believed to have been nurtured by chaos as the oldest one born from the creator. So this is essentially like the child of the creator, like the one that the creator actually raised up and nurtured. Good good stuff. And it in this order, like the high ranking members are all female, which we later find out why that is. And it it's really interesting because this demonist sect also has like the assassin pathway. And before it got big, like they only allowed people within the bloodline of this demonist sect to actually inhabit member positions. So really interesting that now it's gotten bigger, so now obviously it had to expand. But back to the story. So there's this thing that happened called the Alfalfia tragedy, which is like this ship just went missing and everybody ended up being either missing or killed. So one of the actual surviving persons from that went missing actually turned up thanks to Klein and his ability to, as the seer, to be able to locate them and find them. Um, but so this guy Mayer kind of is like still traumatized by that experience, and he's telling Klein how he constantly sees uh he keeps constantly having the same nightmare, which is he's in the boats, he's seeing everybody just off themselves and throw kids overboard, all this like crazy stuff. And Klein is able to visit this dreamlike state, and he notices that Triss is there. So now we find out why Dune and Klein were there at the play. They're trying to, and why they're investigating him is because he is heavily involved in this Alfafia tragedy, and they're just trying to gather up evidence to really put him under and be able to capture him and detain him. because right now their evidence kind of lacks a lot of concrete concreteness. And yeah, so like we have we have Triss later on, just after the play. Triss is obviously, we find out Triss is like obviously behind it, because he does, the story does go on, and he meets one of the demonist sect like higher ups, and he is given a book with the procedure to acquire the sequence 7 of the assassin pathway, which is the witch. So really interesting that the assassin pathway leads into the witch. I'm interested to find out what sex sequence 8 is, but no, yeah, so that ends up really turning the tables, because now we know that the play does was paralleling something, and that was, and it, the play that Triss put on was paralleling the Alfalfa tragedy, or it was like based off of what happened in that to a degree. And Klein, obviously noticing all these things with Triss and the guy's dream, he starts hearing once again Hornissus being mentioned, and he keeps getting sent to this place where it's like, okay, well, what this Hornissus is probably important. Why do I gotta be in this place? Is it gonna help me with my transmigration, which we know is still a key part of Klein continuing in the story. He's in the Nighthawks. He's trying to find a way to get back to his original world. And we have him and the guy that gave him the potion, I forget his name, they go into this underground place, which really interesting, because now we have a whole ecosystem where the church allows this kind of like underground place where people can gather supplies for potions to become beyonders, which really interesting that they mentioned the church again. Like the church has a very uh high position, or like has very much control over like how people become beyonders. So it makes me wonder, like, if the church uh has to approve a lot of the stuff with the beyonders, or like if the church itself is corrupt and has kind of like a monopoly over all the beyonder sequences. Just really interesting stuff. One of the people from this underground market is known as the Monster, and he instantly, I think he's going to be important because he has a high spirit perception, and he instantly noticed that Klein had the stench of death. So like he kind of already know. It seemingly what Klein said was that he probably already knows that he died and came back. So it'll be interesting to see if this guy is important later on, or like if we're gonna keep meeting and finding out why he has such high level perception. But also, one of the key things why they went in there in the first place is also Triss. They went in there to try to find Triss because they figured he was gonna be there at some point, and they did find him, but some other people got to him beforehand. And but even though like they were chasing him and they tried to corner him, eventually they ended up losing him with Triss going into this store, and then a bunch of people just coming out, and one of the women's that kind of like looks like him kind of stumbles up on Klein, and that's as bad as much as the Triss investigation goes, and about as anything else goes. Things start to kind of quiet down, which I love. That at least for Klein, there's like these like 2 weeks, or like close to 3 weeks, that period where he was just kind of like living life, and it was just like telling us how like things in the fog have shifted, with the Hangman being uh more acknowledging of him, and how he's slowly getting better at hand to hand combat, and he's slowly gathering pieces, and it's just, and how he's getting a raise, all this like day to day life that just gets kind of brushed over. But we get enough to understand that Klein is just enjoying life at the moment, until eventually a lot of things start happening, and the death toll suddenly starts going up by a lot, which after we investigate, like they go and investigate with Leonard and Dune, they come to realize that, well, at least Leonard and Klein noticed that a lot of the people that were dying have to, or were already on the path of like uh near of like almost dying anyway. So like there's it was just that their life was getting cut short before they were eventually there before they were close to it. So now the Nighthawks have to, they realize that, okay, well, if somebody's doing that, it's probably some like witch or something that is putting on this curse to take away people's life force. And Leonard and Klein kind of look at one another, and Leonard tells Klein, "Listen, you know I got secrets. I know you got secrets, but as long as the Nighthawks don't, nothing happens to the Nighthawks and they're not put in any danger, I won't pry into your secret, and I won't really come forward and ask about what you're hiding." So Leonard is just really such an interesting character. He's definitely stronger than what he tells others are, and he definitely has a secret or two that's so intriguing. Maybe he's like Klein and he transmigrated here, or maybe he's just from a different place. It's just, or maybe he just is hiding for a certain reason. Maybe he's conducting his own secret investigations. I don't know. Maybe he's also part of a secret order that we are not privy to. There's just a lot of stuff with Leonard that I find quite intriguing, and I can't wait to get more into his backstory and to really find out more about his character. He's like the only other character aside from Klein that I'm really interested in at the moment. But yeah, they finally find the place where the rituals are being taken place and where the souls are getting sucked out of. And turns out it's the woman that Klein ran into while they were chasing Triss. And some of the stuff that happened where like they find her and she turns invisible, and the fighting that goes on is like so top tier animation, like so beautiful to look at. The sequences are so so great, and they just flow so well, and just the whole 3D atmosphere also, like as they're getting into it, is breathtaking. Like probably some of the best animation that I've seen in this year so far. But yeah, Dune kind of like goes off into the house where the woman is at, and he gets a taste of the primordial demoness as this witch kind of conjures her up for a bit, but Leonard is able to like fight it off. So we know that it's strong because Dune Dune was just like, okay, well, he was kind of like out of breath afterwards, and then Leonard kind of takes his stab at her, and he's also getting put through the ringer as the witch kind of like does this thing with the rose and it pokes him, and then he like gives him a taste of like the witch's curse, as she says, and it doesn't really end up doing much to him. We do start to see a bit of Leonard and what he fears, but then I think as soon as he like got rid of his fingernail, he was able to like undo the curse. So like pain undoes the curse to a degree, or maybe he has just high tolerance for attacks like that. But yeah, when Clint is finally able to join in the mansion and see the mirror, he realizes, oh, this woman turns out to be a lot look a lot like Triss. So then we come to realize that the assassin pathway eventually leads to the witch, right? And the reason why the demon is sick have such high-ranking women is due to the fact that once they go into the sequence of the witch, they essentially transform into women. So really great world building, really great action in this episode. Just really more well-round characters, and yeah, Leonard just kind of is really intriguing to me. Triss is probably gonna come back at some point because he does escape from them once again, and he's greeted with a lot of like people trying to light up his cigarette. So I'm really interested in more of Lord of Mysteries, but I do think there's like certain discussion to be had about like how fast paced it is. I think it does get like a lot of the people really turned off by it because they can't follow along. They're not like pausing to like really digest what happened or what's happening, and due to the fact that it's not in dub, they have to like try to read a lot of fast paced like dialogue, and also like a lot of the characters don't seem as interesting. And this series this is just bringing in a lot of like world building and a lot of story to it, so it's a lot to keep up with. But I think if people like give it enough time, or like once the dub comes out and they can really focus on what's happening, it'll be a lot better. But as of right now, the episode 5, I'm rating it a 9 out of 10. Tougen Anki, episode 2. We have a nice little dream sequence of young Shiki playing in the background, and how he had such a happy life just being around his dad. And then it instantly gets cut off where his dad gets cut in the neck and passes out, and Shiki eventually comes to and comes back. So like that dream sequence ended up being turned into a nightmare, thanks to his soon-to-be teacher, who is, by the way, just this guy. Just we see him just like do some like handstands on an umbrella and do push-ups while being in the handstands. It's like crazy. Like right off the bat, you can instantly tell that this guy is somewhat very strong, just from how he is introduced. And he basically goes around and tells him like, hey, listen, I am here to evaluate you. Kind of breaks down the whole point of this evaluation is to see if he has what it takes to join the Oni agency, which is the opponent, or like the rival of the Momotaro agency, which the Oni agency just kind of like trains and militarizes Oni from a young age, and teaches them how to fight off using their powers to fight off the Momotaro descendants. So as he's trying to get Shiki to understand that he is being evaluated, he starts losing as Shiki kind of wants to ask a lot of questions without really proving his worth. And he's like, okay, well, I think this old evaluation is kind of like pointless. So he's like, let me do something to make you understand fully what, and to speed things along, because this guy's likes to be very efficient and doesn't like anything that'll waste his time. So he grabs his tie and starts choking Shiki, which in turn, like, Shiki just like is like about to lose it. He's about to like meet a sentence like, if this is all you have, well, that's all you have, right? And at one point, he starts going into berserker mode once again. He's like, oh, well, shoot, it looks like you're going to forget this entire lesson that I'm about to teach you. Because once Oni go into berserk mode, they don't remember what happened or anything that happened while they were in berserker mode. So this is quite the predicament, and the Oni Shiki just does not have what it takes. It instantly gets cut or like completely overpowered by this guy. And he basically is like, well, Shiki's like, well, you're actually quite strong. So he's like, I'm gonna swallow my pride and I want to be your underling. Let me train under you. Because like I have a goal, and the goal is to be strong enough to avenge my father. Which the guy's like instantly like, nope, you're not gonna be my underling at all. You're actually kind of pointless. You're inefficient, and you really don't bring any worth to me if I train you anyway, and that'll be a waste of my time. So he's like, he kind of rejects Shiki. He's really still trying to evaluate what he's gonna do, and Shiki kind of like realizes, oh, he's using his blood to create weapons and create the umbrellas. Is like, so Shiki's like, okay, well, I gotta just start copying you then. He tries to copy him by bringing out his blood, and he got to a point where he was half going berserk so that he could bring out his blood forward, and he was able to suppress it, which is really interesting because this gives the guy a more concrete evaluation of Shiki and his abilities. Like, yes, he seems to be the kind that does things out of emotion without an inefficiency. It's like, so we get it. There's like mini kind of like way of showcasing that, where like this guy is like more calculative when it comes to battle, and meanwhile Shiki's more of like the uh instinct kind of person. And this is also like, in his way, it's like he's in control of his berserker mode, where he gets to, well, this guy, not Shiki, gets to point out and actually send out percentages of power he wants to put out. Meanwhile, Shiki's more like letting it, trying to let it all out, and then suppressing it, which is kind of the unique way to do it, which gives Shiki enough of a praise to get this guy to be like, okay, you're not absolutely worthless, so I won't make you my underling, but you can be my student. And he lets him know, like, okay, we're gonna go to Onigashima. This is the place where we train all our Oni, and this is also where you'll be living from now on. So make sure you, if you don't make it here, then you might as well just die, because if you, everybody that gets in here is like trained to go up against the Momotaro. So he's like, don't make me waste my time. Don't make me regret choosing to give you a chance. And Shiki gets to go, and he starts wondering like what really happened to his father. And the guy lets him know, listen, we kind of carried him along with you. He's somewhere safe. His body's somewhere safe. Like, we haven't done anything to it. We're gonna allow you to do all the funeral stuff, send them off properly, however you feel fit. Which is nice, because they didn't have to do this. They could have just easily have left the father there. But assuming that Shiki, they probably figured that Shiki would be more reluctant to be part of the agency if they showed a little grace to his father, and also the Oni are not like complete monsters. So this was quite nice. So Shiki goes to the classroom and instantly wonders how he's gonna introduce himself. Well, cool and nonchalant, or very loud and arrogant. And the teacher's just like, just get in there already. And he meets his classmates, and we find out that the horns are an indication of somebody being able to unlock their awakened Oni state. And we have a guy in the classroom that doesn't have them. Meanwhile, the other kids have them in variations. So Shiki's like, who are you without with no horns trying to come at me? You're not even awakened yet. And the guy's like, puts him up for show, and it's like, that's an indication of somebody who is like well trained. Like, the teacher does point out that if somebody's able to conceal their horns, their Oni horns, that means they're more in control and have a higher aptitude for controlling their Oni power. So we have Shiki, who is the complete bottom of the tier, against probably trying to pick a fight with the guy with the most skilled and probably the most well trained so far. And it's an interesting rivalry, of course, like the genius versus the the hard worker is going to be another nice thing, because Shiki does point out that he does want to work hard to like achieve his goals here. And before they even fight, the teacher kind of like gets behind them and sits them down, and the guy's like, I didn't even see him do that. Like, so the teacher is very efficient, very fast, as we've seen in the previous episode, how he knocked out Shiki. But now you're starting to see like not necessarily see, but you get a hint of the full display that Oni are capable of, and the feats that they can accomplish if they're skilled enough and trained enough. So this was supposed to be like their orientation day, but the teacher decides, you know what, we're gonna skip all that. We're gonna start with the training exercise right off the bat. Kind of tests them. So the test is pretty much, he takes them to this forest, and he tells them, you got an hour to head back to school. Oh, and while you're trying to head back to school, I'm gonna go and try to capture you. If any of you don't make it, you're automatically expelled. And everybody's like, what? But that's like, but why? And then he's like, well, consider this like real, not an extra, but consider this like part of actual battle. In actual battle, you won't get a second chance. You're gonna either survive or you're gonna get killed. So if you want to continue to impress me, I'm gonna keep continuing to put obstacles in your way, and you're gonna have to continue to surpass those obstacles, so that once you graduate, you'll be well off into into this agency and be put in the front lines. And of course, the guy kind of like points out, "What if we kill you?" Because the teacher said he wasn't gonna use any of his only blood powers. And he's like, "Well, if you kill me, you just take my place, and you're put in the front lines right away, without needing to graduate." And everyone's excited. Meanwhile, Shige's kind of seems like he's shaking, but he's like, "Nah, I'm here, and I'm here to win it all. I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna get strong enough to avenge my father." And it definitely has. He definitely seems to have the want and the will to put forward his best effort. So I'm really looking forward to it because it's a nice way to start off a series. Not going into like full detail, just going straight into like, all right, you're introduced to the characters, time to train and figure out the ranking from highest to lowest. So I do expect possibly one of these students to get sent off, but not necessarily all of them. And I do expect the guy that has control over their scores to be like one of the first to actually make it back. But we'll see. Maybe they'll have to figure out to work together to prevent this guy from taking them and capturing them. But yeah, really good episode. 8 out of 10 for me. Takopi's Original Sin, episode 4. So Takopi is trying to have a word with Asuma and Shizuka as they're kind of like preparing for summer vacation, the big day where Shizuka's gonna finally get to be able to visit and get Choppy back from her father. But Asuma realizes that, or like he notices from his phone that there's some news that people have found Marina, and now Takopi won't be able to change into Marina because now they found her body, and now it's made aware that she has has been ended per se. And I just love that this episode really focuses a lot on Asuma and his overall health, mental health state. And I love how Junior, his older brother, is kind of seeing him, and he's seeing that he's disturbed, and he's asking him like, "Listen," or he's telling him, "Listen, I'm here for you. You, whatever you're hiding or whatever you want to talk to me about, I will listen to you. I am here. I am your older brother." But Asuma kind of just like runs off. It's very much so he is being consumed by guilt, possibly even having an anxiety attack that he's having to now think up of ways to cover their tracks now. It's really daunting seeing him like this. Like he's freaking out. He's not. It's like the world is crushing around him. Like you see, he is going through the world in a blank state, and the police show up to his school, and they start questioning everybody, or like letting everybody know if they have any info that they should probably go to them and talk to them so that they can get whoever did that to Marina to come forward and process him and stuff. And of course, Asuma has such a guilty conscience. Like you can see it the way the anime just like depicts it. Like it is crazy how much guilt he feels. And now, once he's together with Takopi and Shizuka, we start seeing a little bit more of Takopi and how he is looking at things, and he's trying to talk to Asuma like, "Hey, maybe we should come forward." He's like, "I don't even know if we're doing the right thing anymore." Like Takopi's questioning his own beliefs and what Asuma and Shizuka are trying to put forward, that they are essentially doing the right thing, but he is now questioning because it's like he realized that what they did ended up affecting Marina's family, and how her passing has made her mother sad and probably her dad sad, especially now that the mother and father know that she's no longer there. And yeah, we see that while these two are kind of having their own talk, Shizuka comes out of nowhere and is like, listen, you should we are still gonna do the thing in summer vacation, right?" And it's like, you can definitely uses a lot of nice words to Asuma, and Asuma just wants to be so helpful towards her. Like you see how easily manipulated Asuma is when it comes to Shizuka, and it's very daunting because as Asuma's freaking out, Takopi's kind of like questioning how everything is. She's just not a care in the world. She's just happy Marina's no longer in this world, just living her best life. And Asuma feels constant pressure, constant need to want to appease her and make her happy, be of use to her. Meanwhile, you have the his guilt continue to grow, and the brother keeps on looking to Asuma with like concerned looks, and the animation just of how like the brother shows up to his room and starts questioning, starts talking to him like, "Hey, listen, I'm here. If anything's wrong, just let me know." And you could see that when his brother's around, there's a certain air of like inadequacy that he feels, a certain air of like, oh, guilt driven that he feels because of what's happening and how he can't come forward to his brother because of what his brother might think of him. As Asuma views his brother as like the perfect person, the person he strives to be. Like he doesn't want his brother to be thinking less of him. And I love how the music in this portion comes next, where Asuma's taking the test. He's trying to figure out how best to help Shizuka. How it's playing this very positive music to reinforce the fact that Asuma's looking at the bright side of things when it comes to Shizuka. But then the daunting reality hits once he gets his test back and he has a failing score. So it he goes back, presents his failing score to his mother, but he still receives pancakes. And you could see how this meant so much to Asuma as or to Naoki, is I think is his name. So Naoki's like, okay, well, the pancakes look bright, like something he always wished for, but and he's finally getting it from his mother. But the mother comes in and is like, well, you brought in a failing test. I feel like no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you're just never gonna match what Junia is doing. So she basically tells him she no longer expects anything out of him, and she no longer will care of anything that comes from him. Like she felt like this was a way of him trying to rebel against her and what she wants from him, and she used that against him by like saying, well, here are your pancakes, this is what you've always wanted, this is the reward that I will always given you, you can just have them. This reward no longer means anything anymore because I no longer expect anything out of you. So you can see how this him not being even able to uh enjoy the reward that he always wanted. Like eat the pancakes, even when they, after the mother explains to him that she no longer expects anything out of him, the pancakes look less appetizing. They look dark. They look cold. It no longer has the warmth feeling he expected out of them. And not only that, you really start to see how the mother's expectations have hurt him, and even now more so because she no longer expects anything out of him. He no longer feels like worthy of anything. Like even the pancakes no longer have a worth to them anymore. I really love how this anime really depicted the pancakes as a manipulative tool that the mother used to get Asuma to try his hardest and to be what she wanted him to be, but not but and him buying into that to appease her, to feel needed, to feel a sense of like accomplishment that he can't feel because his brother's always the one that's getting rewarded. And it's I think this just a great showing of like one of the worst things that a parent can do is no longer feel or have say to their child that they no longer care for them, because Asuma breaks down. He no longer feels like his mother loves him. he no longer feels like he's needed anywhere. So he's just bawling his eyes out in the dark. And here comes Shizuka to calm him, to give him warmth, give him a safe space that he always wanted. But Shizuka comes with ulterior motives. She wants to be able to see Chappie again, so she asks Asuma this very important question of like, listen, I hope if you turn yourself in, it would mean the world to me. She she says he's all she has, that no matter how long he spends in Juby, she'll always wait for him. Very, very manipulative. And we start to see Asuma kind of like start remembering how things were with his brother and how he was always competing with him since early on. Like his brother was always goofing off or not trying his hardest to study, and he always ended up getting hundreds. And he tried to match that, so he tried studying more to compensate for the fact that his brother was so much better at studying than him, or so much better at getting good grades than him, to the point where the mother even like got him glasses because he needed them as his eyesight was worsening. His test scores kept getting a bit lower, and despite Asuma being one of the most gifted students there, or one of the most smartest in the classroom, it still failed in comparison to his brother, who was like the best in the nation. So, as Asuma kept chasing this perfection view that he had his brother in, he kept feeling more and more inferior as time goes on, to where eventually, even when he saw Shizuka, who resembled her mother, he just wanted to. That was the moment where he decided, I'm just gonna be like my brother. I'm gonna try my hardest. I'm gonna ace my tests, get perfect scores on them, and I'm gonna help her out in whatever way I can. And it just did not work out for him. The more he tried to get to know Shizuka, the less she wanted of him, and the more his tests kept getting lower, to the point where he just felt inadequate at one point. He's never going to be perfect, and he always blamed his brother for giving him that hope that he can be just like him. So, especially after seeing his brother succeed in acquiring friends, getting a job, getting a girlfriend. Meanwhile, he's left alone with like by himself, nobody to really look for him, nobody to really say they love him, no friends to really support him. So you can really feel like the loneliness he felt, and really how much deeper into depression, or like how much more inferior he felt to his brother as things went on. And to the point where like he he considered himself a failure, and he just wanted to put his best efforts in to take over the Asuma clinic, the one his mother runs. And we have this nice, really great transition of like the reason why he decided to help Shizuka with everything was this is his way of kind of like coping with the fact that he's not getting good grades, and also as his mother is the one saving lives, the one way he can feel helpful towards people is to help Shizuka, which is almost to him like saving a life, but in reality it's just saving himself from it's just saving himself from feeling so inferior, from feeling so imperfect. And Shizuka is taking advantage of that feeling, and we have this great transition of like the pancakes into the gadget that ended Marina, which just symbolically so good. The pancakes and the gadget are both weapons used by Shizuka and the mother to manipulate Asuma to do their bidding. Really, I cannot explain how bad this how good this transition was. And to seal the deal of the manipulation, Shizuka gave him a kiss, which just kind of emphasized that she knew what she was doing, at least in my eyes, and she used that so Asuma could actually go into it. So now comes like my favorite portion of this entire episode, where Asuma's just that set on turning himself in. He has the gadget. He tries to leave early in the morning. Lucky for him, Junia was there, and he goes to him, and this is where Asuma's own insecurities, his own inferiority complex kick in, and how he feels that Junia is gonna start making fun of him, start belittling him for being so imperfect, for like ruining the family legacy, and for being part of a case that involved another child's life being ended. But Asuma completely disregards that, and he just asks him, "Listen, I know you're not okay. Come talk to me." And it's like, it'll be okay. You just have to open up to me. And Naoki kind of like finally breaks down. He finally lets down his wall, and he tells his brother everything he feels. Like, you wouldn't understand how I feel. You wouldn't get how I feel. You've always been perfect. You've always been good at everything. You, whether it was making friends, getting good grades, getting a job, you have literally everything I could ever want. Meanwhile, I'm here all by myself. I don't have anything. I don't even have anybody that looks at me. Just Shizuka is the only one that has looked at me. And he opens up that he really feels lonely, and the brother comes to embrace him. Is like, "You dummy, like, you have me. Like I am your older brother. I worry about you, and you don't have to worry about being perfect. Nobody's perfect in this world. Just look at me. I'm not good at video games, and mother's pancakes are just awful. Like, in actuality, that reward kind of meant it's meaningless because they really weren't that good." He said that the mother was always such a hard work that she always ended leaving him overnight after she made him. So they weren't good when they were in the morning. But it's just really such a touching moment where, like, the brother finally, the older brother comes in and gives Naoki that safe space to be himself, to open up all his insecurities, to finally let go of the weight that's been holding him down. And he's finally able to open up about how he feels, how he views his brother, about everything. And the brother's happy because he was finally able to be there for his little brother, which to me was just so heartwarming. And it's so interesting that after all this, we have a last panel of Shizuka and Takopi, or like a last showing of Shizuka and Takopi in this storm that got withered away, and now they're like, "It's summer, let's go get choppy." Uh, Such powerful messaging in this episode. Like, when it's always better to open up to somebody like your siblings, or your older brother. Like, it just goes, this show is just so good at depicting actual, like, human emotion, at depicting actual human behaviors, where, like, Shizuka, that no longer has the bully, is able to see how to manipulate Asuma, and the brothers know something's wrong, but once doesn't force himself to be in his little brother's face. He wants his little brother to open up, and gives him that room needed for him to decide it's time to open up. And just the way that they depict how the mother treats Naoki as opposed to Junya. And it's not necessarily the mother's it is the mother's fault, but it's not necessarily she does it out of spite. It's more so that she wanted what's best, but in wanting what's best for Naoki, it put too much pressure on him to really overcome it, to be able to fill those shoes that the mother wanted of him. And man, so good. This episode is a 10 out of 10. Silent Witch, episode 3. So we have Monica, who's contemplating her life once again. She wants to go back to her hut in the mountains. She feels kind of useless there, and you can really see this episode's gonna focus in on some of her insecurities and confidence that she lacks for herself. So we get a little more expansion on what happened in the previous episode with Aaron and how his fiance Selma is kind of getting bullied over his whole situation. How it's like, oh, so he just suddenly got sick and got sent home. Yeah, right. Like they're making fun of her, and she's just kind of there taking it in. Like it seems like she doesn't want to move the needle too much. She doesn't want to explain herself too much. She just wants to go with the waves and not make a scene of herself. So she's already like, you can see she's laying low for because of a certain reason, or because of her certain situation that she has with her own family in there. Who knows? But Colette, the one of Monica's or like Lana, one of Colette's friends from classroom, she decides to help her try to get through the situation up on the stairs, and ends up to the point where she gets pushed down the stairs, and she's contemplating how to best save herself. It's like, if I use wind magic, they'll think it's weird, so I have to make it look like something that is more feasible and can actually save me. So she makes the edges slippery, and she just falls down the stairs, slipping down in a way. So she doesn't take such big damage going down the stairs like that, but she does end up in the arms of Lord Ashley, or Cyril, who is like the vice president of the school. And Monica gets questioned about what happened, why she fell down from the stairs. Like, was she pushed by her friend, or was she pushed by the other ones? The other ones were kind of like mocking it, like, oh no, she just fell by herself, or like Lana kind of pushed her there. And it was really interesting seeing how Monica was viewing the situation, because she comes from she knows how the elites kind of behave, and she knows that once you get persecuted by somebody of higher status, it essentially means that you are done. Like, that cannot be changed. But at the same time, she doesn't want her friend to obviously get persecuted and get sent away like Aaron did. So she kind of makes up this lie that she just fell from the stairs, and that she was all to blame for the situation. And it's really interesting seeing this, because we know Monica and how she's powerful, but she still knows that right now she doesn't have that influence that she would have if she was to say she was one of the 7 sages. So she just puts the blame on herself, and you really see that with money and power, you can really bend anything to your will in this world. And also, obviously, through connections, you can do a lot of things to make things go your way as well. So I do like that she was finally able to speak up a bit and be able to defend her friend in a way that she felt comfortable with. But then she just had to hurry up and goes to the balcony, which she wants to find out how things came to be, of the pot about to fall on the president, or the prince in this case. And she comes to two realizations: that it's pretty high up in the balcony, so nothing can really get there, and she finds this pot of that doesn't have a flower in it, so she uses it to stand on and see the view from below. So we then cut to Selma, who once again is allowing herself to be made fun of by other people, saying, oh, we're your friends, and they're kind of making fun of her. But she is like, yes, I'll continue to say you're my friends, because I don't want to be alone in this world. It's kind of implying that she will put up with anything as long as it keeps her in relevance, as long as she doesn't have to be alone, because obviously in this world, as I said before, like, probably connections can go a long way. Having power goes a long way. Being connected to powerful people goes a long way. So she is willing to take in all this verbal abuse in order to stay relevant and stay within a group setting that has power. So one of the council members brings her in for questioning, and we come and Monica is there like, oh, I found the culprit, and it was her. And she breaks down how she came to be. And first of all, she tries to go on a tangent about all these numbers, about the height, and how she was able to deduce all this. And the prince is like, let's skip all that, just tell us the actual facts, or like your conclusions to you saying Selma is the culprit for trying to hit me with this base. And she's like, well, after doing all my maths and seeing Selma, she came to three conclusions. One, her gloves got dirty after she wore the plot. Two, her and Selma are around the same height, so she had to do the same thing she did to be able to get the view of below, to be able to drop the plot. And three, she found the gloves hiding in a trash can near the balcony's trash. So those three evidences were enough for her to deduce that Selma was the culprit. And turns out Selma does end up confessing to everything, and she did say she attempted to get the prince's life and everything, and that she was also involved with the manufacturing of the budget. So the one that was behind it was also her. So Aaron and Selma seem to be in cahoots with everything, and to me it just seems like maybe Selma just kind of took in the blame of her being the accomplice, and or she was capable enough to do magic to rewrite Aaron's memories to not include her. But I do like that the prince kind of takes note of that Selma was willing to sacrifice everything all for the person she loved, and to him that was very endearing. And as probably the prince doesn't have somebody that is willing to go to those lengths just for him, or someone with enough kindness or that loves him to that degree. So Monica just kind of like is there looking at him, and she's looking over the papers, and she sees there's a bunch of like numbers, and she starts doing a lot of the accounting. It's like, oh, these are wrong, these don't look right. And the prince is like, well, you want to help me? I'll make you you're now the council's treasurer. So now not only does she have her spying duties, so to make sure that nobody gets near the prince, her protective duties, and now she also has the council's treasurer on top of that. So it seems with every episode that carries on, she's becoming a more reliable person, and she is getting more and more dumped on her, and she can't say no because she lacks the the fortitude to do so. She lacks the confidence to say no, so she's just gonna take in more and more duties. So I hope it doesn't eventually like stack up to overwhelm her to later on. And yeah, we go, and people are already starting. We go to the next day, and people are talking about how she probably did something, or she did a favor to the prince to be given that sort of position, and she's just kind of zoning it out loud. She doesn't want to hear about it. So when Lana tries to talk to her about it, she just kind of like ignores her, and then Lana realizes, okay, she doesn't really want to talk about this, so I'm gonna focus more on like what happened with us. Maybe she'll try to open up more to me in that way. So she gives her thanks for like taking the blame for everything, and she also apologizes for putting her in that position that made her uncomfortable, where she had to take that blame for everything. And then we get a nice moment with Monica and the prince. The prince tells her like, all right, Cyril is our former treasurer. You will be going with him from now on, so he can show you the ropes on how to do everything. And so Monica realizes, oh well. After they spend some time there, she starts getting cold, and she comes to realize, yes, the feeling she felt before of his fingertips being cold is because he is releasing a lot of mana without him realizing it. And he kind of like looks at her and tells her like, listen, after what happened earlier, I went and asked around to get the full picture of what happened earlier. And he's like, so I went and I had all the all the girls make a formal apology to me because they were in the wrong, and this kind of runs up her view of nobility, because Monica realizes, like, oh, even certain people of higher status can actually look at things objectively and not just go by what other people of higher authority goes. So it kind of sheds light that not everybody's the same to her, and maybe it softens her or makes her a bit more willing to be vulnerable with them. So I also have this really thing happened with the Cyril, where he was looking at over the accounting stuff, and he saw that the writing was a certain way, but as soon as he tried to confront somebody with a certain handwriting, he was pulled away from it and didn't realize what was happening. So I think whoever casted that spell on Aaron also has a spell on him, so to kind of cover his tracks, which is really interesting thing to have in the background, just waiting to be revealed. And yeah, no, I'm enjoying this anime a lot. I'm rating this episode a 8 out of 10.